Hello, my fellow weirdlings! It's Margot, and today I'm bringing you another real-life Halloween horror story, The Murder of Martha Moxley. If you're ready to get spooked and spine-tingled, keep watching. Though I won't be going into explicit detail, the following true crime story covers sensitive topics that may be triggering to some. On the night before Halloween in 1975, 15-year-old Martha Moxley left her Greenwich, Connecticut home in the gated and privileged community of Belhaven to participate in Mischief Night, in which neighborhood youths would ring bells and pull pranks, such as toilet papering houses. Martha and her friends ended that evening at the Skakel house, across the street from her own home, at a Halloween party of sorts. The Moxleys had lived in Belhaven for about a year. The Skakels were an affluent family, related by marriage to the Kennedys. The Skakel family consisted of Father Rushton, brother of Ethel Kennedy, Robert Kennedy's widow, and his 7 mostly teenage children, 6 sons and a daughter. Their mother Anne had passed away from cancer in 1973, leaving their house in what was described by most as absolute chaos. Martha was quite friendly with the Skakel children, who were said to have been given free rein and unlimited funds by their father, with no adult supervision since their mother's death 2 years earlier. This made their home a popular hangout among the local teenagers. That Halloween Eve, other partygoers remember Martha sitting in the Skakel car with 2 of the Skakel boys, 15-year-old Michael and 17-year-old Thomas, and 2 other friends smoking and listening to music from around 9 o'clock to 9:30 p.m. According to friends, toward the end of the evening, Martha began flirting with and eventually kissed Thomas Skakel in front of Michael, though it was thought Michael had a crush on Martha. She was last seen by these friends falling together behind the fence with Thomas near the pool in the Skakel backyard at around 9:30 p.m. Thomas says Martha embarked alone on the short walk to her own home at around 9:30, and he went inside to work on a paper on Abraham Lincoln at that time. The police later checked with Thomas's school and found that no such report had been assigned. Thomas Skakel was the last known person to have seen Martha Moxley alive. According to Michael, he left at about 9:30 p.m. to accompany 2 of his brothers, Rush Jr. and John, in giving their cousin a ride home. At around 6 o'clock that evening, the Skakels' newly hired live-in tutor, 24-year-old Kenneth Littleton, had taken some of the Skakel kids, including Michael, to dinner, then retired for the night to watch movies upon returning home. He'd just moved into the Skakel house that morning. At around 9:45 p.m., the Skakel family housekeeper, Mrs. Watson, told Ken Littleton that she'd heard a noise outside of her window and asked him to see what it was. Before going outside, Ken decided to check on the Skakel children. Rush Jr., John, Michael, and Thomas weren't at home. He claimed he didn't see Thomas until 10:25 p.m., when Thomas joined him in front of the TV. The other 3 boys were home by 10:15 p.m. Ken says he didn't see anything amiss when he went outside to check on the noise Mrs. Watson had heard. Martha failed to return home that night, and her parents, John David and Dorothy Moxley, were frantic. She was missing for 12 hours, and the entire neighborhood had been searching for her. The next morning, on Halloween, Martha's 15-year-old friend Sheila took a shortcut through the Moxleys' yard and came upon Martha's body lying under a tree. She immediately went to the Moxleys' home and told Martha's parents that she'd found her. A family friend accompanied Sheila back to the body and confirmed that Martha was dead. It appeared Martha's body had been dragged to its final location. Her jeans and underwear were pulled down around her knees, but there was no evidence of sexual assault. She'd been struck in the head multiple times with a 6-iron golf club. The head of the club was found 50 feet away, near the area of her driveway where police believe she'd been initially attacked. She'd been stabbed in the neck with what's believed to have been a portion of the shaft of the golf club. That foot-long section of the club has never been located. It was estimated that Martha was killed between 9:45 and 10 o'clock p.m. Belhaven residents were stunned that a violent crime had taken place in their own backyards. Everyone initially assumed the killer must have been an outsider, but the golf club turned out to be part of a set belonging to the Moxleys' across-the-street neighbors, the Skakel family. Police then turned their focus on the Skakel household. The first suspect in the case was Thomas Skakel. Though he became the prime suspect, his father forbade access to his school and mental health records. According to the police, Thomas was given 2 polygraph exams. The first was inconclusive. The second one he passed. The next suspect was Michael, who told them he was with his brothers driving his cousin home at the time of the murder. After months of cooperating with the authorities, the Skakels, on the advice of their attorney, abruptly refused any further questioning. Over the years, both Skakel boys significantly changed their alibis for the night of the murder. When questioned by private investigators years later, Thomas claimed to have seen Martha later that night, engaged in a sexual act with her, and then left her alive at around 9:50 p.m. Michael claimed he tried to wake Martha by throwing stones at her bedroom window at around midnight. He also claimed to have walked near the crime scene and heard something, but didn't see anything. At a later point, Michael claimed that he'd been window peeping and masturbating in a tree beside the Moxley property from 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. Investigators believe he may have made this statement to explain away any DNA found on Martha's body, although no DNA was actually found. The third suspect was Kenneth Littleton, the Skakels' new tutor, who claimed he'd been watching TV all night. The Skakels fired him 6 months later for unknown reasons. A year after the murder, he was arrested for burglary and theft in Nantucket, Massachusetts. He failed a polygraph test regarding Martha's murder. However, no other evidence against him was found. At this point, the case became inactive for decades, though police were almost certain that one of the Skakels killed Martha, or at least had information that could lead them to the killer. Over the years, witnesses to the Skakel's behavior after the murder did come forward. In 1978, Michael Skakel was arrested for speeding, driving under the influence, and fleeing police. As a result, he was sent to the Elon School, a military-style boarding school in Maine for troubled youths. While there, two of his fellow classmates later testified that they'd heard Michael confess to killing Martha Moxley, and that Michael had bragged, "I'm going to get away with murder. I'm a Kennedy." According to these witnesses, Michael said that Martha had rejected his sexual advances, so he beat her with a golf club. Several other witnesses from the school also came forward, claiming that Michael had either confessed to killing Martha or hinted at it. They even claimed that he had admitted to committing the murder during a group therapy session. During several of these sessions, he was confronted about the murder. On some occasions, he became upset and began to cry, saying he didn't know if he did it. He also claimed to have been blind, drunk, and stumbling on the night of the murder. He told yet another resident at the school that he was drunk that night and wasn't sure if he killed her. He said he'd been sent to the Elon School because his family believed he'd killed Martha and wanted to keep him away from investigators. In 1976, a barber recalled Michael mentioning that he wanted to kill someone. When his sister Julie responded, "Shut up, Michael," his reply was, "Why not? I did it before." The Skakel family driver told police in 1977 that Michael had told him he'd done something really bad and that he either had to kill himself or get out of the country. That same day, Michael tried to end his own life by jumping off a bridge they had been driving on at that time. When he got back in the car, he told the driver, "If you knew what I'd done, you'd never talk to me again." He also reportedly confessed to the murder while at a party. Years later, when Michael recorded notes for a book he planned to write about himself, investigators say he made other incriminating statements about his whereabouts on the night of Martha's murder. Julie Skakel's friend Andrea, who was at the Skakel home on the night of the murder, claimed that Michael didn't go with his brothers to take his cousin home that night. She recalled talking to him and saw him walking on the property after the car had left. Several friends also told police that Michael was infatuated with Martha and wanted a relationship with her. They claimed he was jealous and seemed upset seeing her with Thomas on the night of the murder. In June 1998, a rarely invoked one-man grand jury was convened to review the evidence of the case. After an 18-month investigation, reviewing the testimony of 53 witnesses, a Connecticut judge decided there was enough evidence to charge then 39-year-old Michael Skakel with murder. He was arrested on January 19, 2000. On May 7, 2002, Michael Skakel went on trial. 1 month later, he was convicted of first-degree murder. During the trial, he stuck to his original alibi that he was at his cousin's house at the time of the murder. The jury later said they didn't believe his alibi witnesses and that his siblings and cousin were covering for him. He was given a sentence of 20 years to life. In October 2007, a Superior Court judge denied his motion for a new trial. Normally, the story would end here, but not in this case. In October 2013, Skakel was granted a new trial by a Connecticut judge who ruled that his attorney had failed to adequately represent him at his trial. The judge stated that the defense failed to give proper attention to detail in the case, failed to complete an energetic investigation, and did not have a coherent plan of defense. Prosecutors appealed the decision, but Skakel was released on bail. On December 31, 2016, the Connecticut Supreme Court reinstated Michael Skakel's murder conviction, holding that his attorney had provided a constitutionally adequate defense. However, he wasn't returned to prison. The defense asked the court to review their decision. In May 2018, the Connecticut Supreme Court reversed its previous decision and overturned the murder conviction again. They stated Skakel's attorney should have presented witnesses to support his alibi. On October 30, 2020, 45 years to the day of the murder of Martha Moxley, the state of Connecticut decided not to retry Michael Skakel, claiming that due to the deaths of several witnesses and a lack of new forensic evidence, they didn't believe they'd be able to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this story and will come back for more. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and bring your friends, family, COVID Pog, cult members, invisible friends, or enemies. And if you have an interesting story to tell, I'll leave my contact info in the description box. Thanks so much for watching.